Great morning, everyone. How are you all doing? I hope you all had a blessed and relaxing weekend. It went by really quick. I feel like it was just, 10 minutes ago that I was doing the video on Friday. But please remember to join us tonight at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for Marriage Mondays with the Kings. We will be discussing tonight marriage, my spouse is controlling me. And then we will be answering our question of the day, which is, I'm trying to paraphrase and remember, when the Bible says submit, does that mean control? So that's what we'll be talking about tonight at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on KRG and 98.5 FM. If you're not able to listen in by going to or being in the local area, we ask that you go to your app store on any of your devices and download the Royal Blue and White KRG and 98.5 FM app. And so please just feel free to join us tonight. Let us know what you think about the things that are said. Good morning, Alex and Jasana. Good morning. So this is going to be kind of like a morning of inspiration, motivation on this morning. So as we're fresh paint, trust the process. That's what we're going to be talking about. Fresh paint and trust the process. And so I'm going to talk about our house just briefly, and then I'm going to show how God applied it, to marriages and relationships and even those who are single. So yesterday while I was sitting in church, I was paying attention, but I was thinking about walking through our house. And good morning, Penny. And now that the demolition, some of y'all have seen the pictures that we've posted after the fire and the demolition and stuff, they're starting to apply fresh paint. And so walking in our house, I have all kind of mix of emotions. I'm kind of still heartbroken because of the things that have happened and, the memories and everything like that. But then at the same token, it's like, wow, God is making all things new. We know that that's something that's said in the Bible. The old things have passed away. God is making all things new. Now, when this parallel to marriages and relationships, and even for those who are single, I'm going to hit this 3 different ways real quick, right? And what the things that God was showing me and just pouring into me. Number 1, in our marriages, because we do not want to take the time, and sometimes we stay stuck in the past, we stay attached to the past and things like that. What tends to happen is we do not allow God to make all things new. We do not allow God to make all things new in our marriage, because sometimes we want to stay connected to the things that have happened in the past. And so what we call ourselves doing, because we really don't, feel like having anybody in our business, we really don't want to get help, we'll do a patchwork job. If you think about paint, sometimes there's a hole in the wall, there's some damage or whatever, and instead of us taking the time to fix it and get it back to its proper place, its proper alignment, what we do is we do a patchwork job. And when you do that, you can walk in somebody's house and look and be like, what is going on in here? They just try to match up the paint and just put it right over that problem that they had. They don't take the time, we don't take the time as husbands and wives, let me say it like that, to really have that faith and believe in God and trust the process. Because when we have that faith in God, even in things of our life, God is wanting us to just trust the process. He already had things mapped out. So why is it that we as individuals fight against the process? Well, one of the reasons is because we don't know what it is that God is going to do in our life. And so although we say we trust God, we're not trusting God through the process in which he have us in, even though we know in the end, God is going to make things better than what it was. You know what I'm saying? We don't take the time to trust the process. Even with our singles, sometimes, I talk to a lot of single women, good single women. You heard me? I'm talking about that will make somebody good wives, good single women. And the most thing that is said that they tell me when I talk to them is, I don't understand what's wrong with me. Good morning, Thisha. Why is it that I don't have a husband right now? What's going on? I don't understand. And so in that, I would just have to say this: we have to trust the process. We have to, I mean, some of my single friends, man, they like gung-ho about really being married and, having a husband and everything like that. And I could understand that, I really could. I mean, I enjoy being married to my husband. I don't know how many of y'all who are married who are watching if you enjoy being married. But I say all that to say you have to trust the process, because when we do things prematurely, then we can end up in trouble because we're doing things. We're not allowing God to do things in our life the way that he set out. Good morning, Simone. And so going back to our singles, some things that we do, and married individuals do it as well, is we don't get over that hurt of the past. Now, I'm not saying act like it don't exist. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is trust God through your process of healing. Whatever you need healing in, whatever, because like I said, what we do, me and my husband talk about it quite often. We take it into the current marriage. And it's something that's ironic because our pastor said this yesterday. So I had shared the message on Marriage Mondays with the Kings because he was talking to married and singles, and it was actually a really good word. And so what my pastor was saying, which is true, is that what we tend to do is when we don't take care of whatever the issue was and fix it in the first marriage, then we'll get married again. And then when we get married again, we see it come up in the second marriage. And then we'll get married again. And we see it come up in the third marriage. And the thing that we have to understand is if we don't address the things, if we don't cast our cares upon the Lord, if we don't trust the process, even for those who are married right now, you're talking about throwing in the towel. Why are you throwing in the towel? Hey, Shirley, why are you throwing in the towel? Now, some are throwing in the towel because, you ain't had no business marrying that person in the first place. But then at the same time, God is telling you, some of us in our heart, no, this is not it. This is not it. You got to trust the process. That is not the way out of it. You have to trust the process. So I'm going to ask, whether you be single, whether you be married, whether you be divorced, are you trusting God's process? Are you really trusting God's process in your life? People expect you to be, people expect you. I hope it comes through. I'm sorry that it's freezing and stuff. I don't know what's going on this morning. I wish I could pause it and restart it, but we'll just see. I got to trust the process, right? So people expect you to, just get over things and things like that. But once you trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding, and in all your ways acknowledge him, because we'll say out of our mouth that we trust God. We'll say out of our mouth that we're trusting God's process. But in reality, if we keep it real, 9 times out of 10, we're not, because we're trying to interject our own things into it. So let God apply fresh paint to your marriage. Allow God to apply fresh paint to whatever you're going through in your singleness. Whatever, those who are divorced, allow God to apply that fresh paint. It's just like in the Bible, what we've learned about that fresh oil that is running over you. Same situation, same thing. Only thing God has allowed me to do is talk about fresh paint. Don't try to doctor it up on your own. Don't try to fix the situation on your own. Allow God to apply that fresh paint, because I'm telling you, when God makes old things new and we allow the old things to pass away, whether it be whatever we've been through, I'm not saying forget what you've been through. By no means am I saying forget it. I'm saying learn from it. That's what I'm saying. Because a lot of us have things in our past that we wish that if we could go back in our past with a giant eraser, we could erase it out. But we have to learn from it. We have to trust God's process. We have to allow that fresh oil to be just poured over us, allowing God to make all things new and letting old things pass away. Married individuals, that whatever that thing that you arguing about, trust God. Put it in his hands. Allow the old things to pass away, because guess what? You're not going to be able to reap the full benefit of your marriage if you're still holding on to those old things. It's some people that God is saying, let go. Let go. And what you don't want to do is be so hard-headed that God will bring you all the way back to a bare minimum. Or God will allow, just like in the Joseph experience, God will allow you to be brought all the way down to a bare minimum. You do not want that to happen because we're so hard-headed that we're not fully trusting God's process. So I want you to ask yourself, whether you be single, whether you be married, whether you be divorced, remarried, whatever the case may be, are you truly trusting the process of God? Some will say yes, but in actuality, it's a no. And you can only examine yourself. God has told you to move on from some things. Are you doing it? Maybe some are saying no because God, I feel so comfortable where I am right now. God, I'm really trusting your process, but I'm not ready to move. Well, if you're saying that to God, then you're not trusting the process. Allow God to make all things new. Allow God to apply that fresh paint. For the marriages, you do not have to stay stagnant where you are. You do not by any means have to stay stagnant where you are if you're completely trusting God's process. Some people may say, I don't know how to trust God's process. I'm going to encourage you to pray. I'm going to encourage you to spend time with God. I'm going to encourage you to allow God to speak to you. And I'm going to encourage you to get in God's word. So ask yourself, are you truly, good morning, Natasha. Natasha, let me know if it's freezing up because everybody else is saying that it's freezing up. But are you truly trusting God's process? When I think about our house and I'm excited about the new things that God is doing, God is going to do. I'm excited about the memories that God is going to allow to be made in our new process of our home. Even though it was so hard with what we've been through, we have to trust the process. So I just pray that you apply these same principles to your everyday life. Don't go into work this morning if that's what you have to do with a nasty attitude, because you can't say that you're trusting the process of God if you're still allowing old things to be attached to you. That is not trusting God's process. That is not trusting God's process in your marriage if you're still bringing up old stuff. Baby, like me and my husband say all the time, but we had to come to this revelation, is that you cannot continue to bring up old stuff in your marriage and allow your marriage to come to the full fruition of what it is that God has for it. You have to trust the process. See, the problem is we don't want to go through things. We don't want to go through anything. We don't want to hurt. We don't want to cry. But guess what? That's a natural part of life, because when you hurt, healing come from that, okay? But if you allow yourself to stay in the hurt, you're not going to experience any healing. So we can't say out of our mouth in one word that we're trusting God with our marriage, that we're trusting God in our singleness, that we're trusting God with the hurt that we experience after we get a divorce. We can't say that if we're still allowing ourselves to be in that, okay? God is going to allow people to come around you that's going to encourage you, that's going to motivate you, that's going to say, hey, Shan, I just had my sister say this last week because I was complaining about some things. And my sister said, Shan, and she told me straight up, and that's what I love. She was like, Shan, you tripping. She was like, you tripping right now. She said, because actually you got to look at it this way. You got to look at it that way. And so I got off the phone with my sister. 10-15 minutes later, I hit my sister back up and I said, you know what? I thank you for that, because I needed that. I needed exactly what you said. But see, what we do is when God allows people to come around us in the midst of our process to help us through our process, when we're going through in our marriage, when we're going through in our singleness or whatever the case may be, we don't want to hear it because we think that that person is meaning us bad and they're not meaning us any good and everything like that, when God is saying, no, here's your cheerleader for this moment of the process in which you have to face. You cannot allow yourself to get through the healing. You cannot allow yourself to, because you got to get through the healing in order for God to apply that fresh paint, that new that's in your marriage, that newness that is in your singleness. So I just encourage you on today to trust the process, okay? God knows what he's doing. And when we get out of ourselves and when we totally trust in God and lean on God and not lean on our own understanding and trust what it is that he's doing in our life, then that's when all things will be made new. That's when your marriage will be made new, when you can get back to laughing and joking. I remember there was a time in me and my husband's marriage when all we used to do is argue. And I remember crying in my closet saying, God, why can't we just get back to that laughter that we used to have, where we used to play with each other like little kids? You know what I'm saying? We used to laugh so hard that our stomach would hurt. Why can't we get back to that? But now I see that we had to trust God in the process, because if we wouldn't have went through those bad times, we wouldn't be able to encourage and motivate people right now in their marriage and the things that they're going through. And that's the problem. When God applies fresh paint to us, we don't go and be examples for other people and encourage other people. A lot of us keep that thing to ourselves. But guess what? You can't stay in that place of happiness if you don't help somebody else, okay? I'm not saying that you have to start your own morning Facebook Lives and you got to start your own radio show and all that. No, you trust and help people in the process that God is laying for you. It may not even be this. It may be something else. It may be you talking to somebody one-on-one. It may be God appointing you to be the cheerleader to help somebody get through their situation. Whatever it is, you have to trust the process in order for God to apply fresh paint. So I pray that y'all got to hear this. I ask that y'all would join us tonight on Marriage Mondays with the Kings, when we're going to be talking about marriage. My spouse is controlling me, getting into the word, really reading and exegeting the text about what the Bible says about marriage and what we're supposed to do when it comes to submitting and things like that. That's going to be at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on KRGN 98.5 FM. I will be back with you all on tomorrow, because it's something that makes my blood boil. And baby, I'm going to be talking about it on tomorrow. I didn't want to come on Monday being rough. We're going to save that for tomorrow, okay? So y'all have a blessed day. Don't let anybody steal your joy. Please share this. And if you had to go back and listen from the beginning, because somebody needs this motivation in their marriage right now. I'll be back with y'all tomorrow. Be a blessing to somebody and not a curse. God bless.